When did you pick up guitar? Like, how long have you been going?
Well, I was about 10 years old, which would have been 1980,
Okay.
when I picked up my first guitar. And I remember that I got the guitar and an amp, and my friend and I said, we got to sound like Eddie Van Halen.
Ooh,
And so
good choice.
Yeah, right. And we turned the amp all the way because we couldn't realize what was going on with the fuzz, like how did you get that distortion sound, right? So we kept turning it up and it wasn't doing anything. And there was only that volume knob and we didn't know. We had bass, treble, and mid. We turned it all the way up and the window was shaking. And I lived actually in a trailer park, like an upscale trailer park, right? So, and I was raised there till I was about 12, and then I moved to a house when my mom got married. But the interesting thing about that was how the manager came and got really upset at us for doing this, right? But I felt like that was the moment where I realized, like, this is a cool thing, whatever, I like this.
Oh, yeah.
Especially
on those the 80 valves, like, you turn those up so hot and they really, really sound nice.
Yeah, right. If you start to push the tubes, and it was obviously a tube amp clear back then, and we pushed the tubes all the way, but it still didn't break up, which was the weird thing. You think.
Yeah, that is so weird.
Yeah.
Huh.
Yeah. At least that's what I remember. It didn't approximate what I was hearing in my head, which is also, if I look back, a good thing. I was hearing the sound in my head, like, oh, that doesn't match, right?
Well, and that brown sound is so hard to replicate.
Yeah. Right.
Like, oh man.
Right.
I'd want to nerd out about your guitar and like the different choices you made with it, because you swapped out pickups, and then obviously Telecaster. You're using the humbuckers style, which is so much fun.
This guitar is it's a Mexican 56 reissue. It cost me about $800, which isn't that much. And I took out the pickups, even though they're really nice pickups. And actually, Johnny Greenwood from Radiohead did use those pickups, right? So I sold them, and then I found that out, and I'm like, oh, that was kind of a bummer, but that's okay. Someone got a steal on those, probably. But anyway, so these are Bill Lawrence pickups, and they're really nice pickups. And the thing of it is you can get this really hot if you want over here. And you can also get this can get pretty warm and a warm telly sound, right? And then then I got it coil tapped. And so you can coil tap it. So this is just a single coil, or you can coil tap it. So that's a single coil or whatever combination you want.
Mm-hmm.
So if you go over to this and you make it single coil and you play like some chicken picking stuff, that sounds like telly if you ask me. Like blindfold test it, please. But if I take and then put make it back to a humbucker and I put on like a higher gain, like Mesa Boogie amp on here or something, and it'll sound like some kind of a soft Les Paul to me. And same with this bridge. It's like a richer sounding, it's still Telecaster, but it with a humbucker, but you can single coil this. And if you single coil this and put some kind of a smacky amp, like some kind of a Fender smacky sounding, bluesy, like Stevie Ray Vaughan sound amp, then you're going to get with single coil here or here and here, I can get the sound that's like more like that.
What I love though is that you have such a broad range of genres and styles, and what a lot of people don't experience when they're so narrowed into different genres is just finding out what is successful for each style and system. And obviously, you're going hard rock and roll, and you need to have that gain turned up. Like you need just a little bit, and probably to that the point of breakup where it's clean if you go soft, and then when you dig in, it starts getting crunchier.
Yeah. I guess when you talk about style, that's an interesting question though. Like I kind of am me playing styles in a weird way a lot of times, even though I grew up playing metal and like Pink Floyd and on all the classic rock stuff. But style, my composition teacher, because it's very contemporary classical music, like it's fairly abstract what I write. It's especially now, it's just like taking sound and manipulating it, which is different to say. But it's style. So my teacher, he said, one of my mentors, Stan Funicelli, he said to me, he said, it's a terrible idea to have a style, because then you're stuck in it, right?
Yes.
Like Miles Davis was not stuck in his style. He changed his style completely from one thing to the next thing. Like that flexibility, I think is really a landmark of a good musician or a visionary, maybe.
And I don't know if you had the same kind of, I don't know, there's a lot of different upbringings where I feel like musicians now getting in are like, oh yeah, we're going to go like punk rock. We don't care about like notation. And then once they get into it a little more, they're like, oh no, okay. They finally learn out like blues and jazz, and then like they start incorporating everything. I don't know from your experience, but it definitely improves songwriting at the very least. Like having these different styles and genres and expectations you can play with.
Yeah. It's like a game to me. Like that's like jazz, right? You have chord progressions that you play over, and it's like being on a journey or something. You're like, hey, this tune is like going down this path, and we know that path. We've been down that path a ton of times. There's so many ways to relate to that path. So how do you do it? You play, you dance on the path, and like great improvisers like Pat Metheny or like John Coltrane. Someone was mentioning here, Ben, the cameraman, was talking to me about that Coltrane. And Coltrane's sound, like you can't, when in terms of the style, it's Coltrane. It sounds like Coltrane. It sounds like Pat Metheny. I think it's a piece by Corgliano, and it's a contemporary classical piece. What's the Ghost of Versailles? It is.
Oh.
And so he takes Mozart's music and he plays around with it, and he makes it, abstracts it, and he kind of plays around with the style of it, like, so it's not always Mozart, you know.
Interesting.
And he does it, but it's related to it, like opera buffa style, and so Mozart's fascinating, man. I love classical music. You know,
it is.
It's beautiful.
Absolutely beautiful.
Yeah.
I always think of metal as like the next closest thing to classical because of how articulate it is and how much expression and definition. Really good metal, I should say, because there are some that go into more thrashy and chugging, which is beautiful on its own, but more of the melodic stuff, like
right.
like Dragon Force, where it's just like, oh yeah, no, he's like doing crazy runs and arpeggios and like.
Or I don't know, like Pantera, like.
Ooh, yes, that's a good one.
Yeah, I mean Dimebag. He's like, it was amazing. He's so creative. Him, Eddie Van Halen, incredibly melodic, but very abstract as well to me. Like exotic sounds, I call them. You know.
Yes.
Different kind of modes that are related. Eddie Van Halen was just really intuitive about it, and Dimebag Darrell, I think, knew more about the structure of the song in a different way. I just feel like, I don't know for sure if it would be true to hang out with Eddie Van Halen and like talk to him about how he created music would be really a phenomenal thing to be able to do, man.
Yeah, just be backstage and just be like, oh yeah, so like, what did you do? What were you thinking?
Right. Yeah.
Unlike the Rolling Stones, who were held at gunpoint for their first album.
Really?
That's what I heard from the Rock and Roll History my roommate was taking, and he's like, holy crap, like the Rolling Stones were forced into the studio at gunpoint until they finished their album.
So, Kevin, I want to thank you for allowing me to do this. It's been a real honor. I've had a really, really good time with all of this, bringing everything in here and meeting Ben, and then also just me getting to know you better after having nice conversations. And if you like what I'm doing, I do weddings, I do all kinds of different private parties, whatever. So if people are interested in that kind of thing and what I've been playing, then totally just contact me. And it's Troy Lennerd, Lennerd. And I'd be happy to help out.
Beautiful.
So yeah, it's a really, really nice to be here. I appreciate it. And it was a lot of fun with the interview and a lot of fun with the recordings.
Awesome. Yeah. Thank you for coming out, man.
Yeah.
It's nice having you here.
Thanks, Kevin.
And that's a wrap.
Oh
yeah, it goes. The screen goes.
That was fun. Did you have a good time? That was great.